Cool. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. So this is the third iteration of JavaScript Breakpoint. We are going to be chatting about everything that happened JavaScript specific in the month of June. And so we got a bit of feedback on the last uh, session, I guess is what we could call them. And there was a request to to do less rabbit holes, less like deep dives, maybe give a bit of a higher level like overview first before we dive into things. And I think that's a fair criticism, and I think it's very helpful for us to actually know that, because at this point we are trying to figure out like what is the value that this time that we spend together can actually provide to the community at large. So I also just want to encourage anyone, whether it's in the comments or just reaching out to us directly or so forth, to please let us know like what we can do differently, what things we can look at and so forth that would provide more value in this kind of hour that we spend together. So also, if you're joining live and you have any questions, please pop them in the text chat. I think all of us are more than happy to just speak directly to any questions. The other thing is as well, unfortunately, Xandor isn't joining today, but he might pop in a bit later. So we'll see how it goes. But the three of us should run the show. And all right, so let us get into it. I think, as always, Ben has a pretty long list of things that happened. He tends to be pretty on top of what's going on in the JavaScript world. So from my side, I'll just maybe mention, and I'll add a link now shortly. I think it'd be worth talking about the Stack Overflow survey results that came out, in terms of just like the JavaScript side of those things and so forth. Mike, I don't know if there's anything that you feel like is worthwhile talking about in terms of what happened in June?
The only stuff that's like I'm so focused in real world work at the moment that I haven't been able to stay up to date. But the only stuff that is of real importance to me over the last month or two is the updates to Dino's HTTP server and their WebSocket API. Those are two things that I'm super excited about. In my Dino talk, they the WebSocket API was my biggest criticism of Dino. So this is a really exciting change. It's something that I think is was a really high priority, and they've got waxed, which is super exciting. The other thing that I will have a tiny shout out, because most JS devs are touching CSS, is States of CSS Nation survey is live. I think it opened up this week. That's a bit of fun. It's always nice seeing the results there, and always interesting seeing what new CSS features you don't know by going through it.
And there's a lot of interesting things happening in the world of CSS and JS at the moment, which I think
segue.
Yes, yeah, but I think Ben can tell us a bit more about that. Yes, okay, cool. And all right, Ben. Sorry, I don't know if there's anything else, Mike.
No, all for me.
Yeah, so June was a bit of a slow month for JavaScript, but some important things did happen. And I think top of the list, we're going to be talking about Bun, TypeScript, and React independently as things. And I'll get back to that. But I think one of the bigger cool quality of life things that happened this month is MDN's reference page for regexes has been updated. And I think it's pretty cool now. It's pretty great.
I just want to check with you this one.
Yeah.
MDN. Okay, cool.
Yeah. The Mozilla one. So that is a nice quality of life change for a lot of people, and something people should know about. Next up, there are two big birthdays in the last week, and I am starting to feel very old because Node.js turned 14 years old.
Oh no.
And React turned 10 years old. So that's crazy. Yet still you'll find people saying React is a brand new technology and
Bleeding
you
edge.
shouldn't invest in yeah,
These
bleeding edge.
newfangled.
But
These
we
new-
can get into the bleeding edge React talk in a little bit.
Oh yeah, maybe about too bleeding, but yeah, too much bleeding, not enough edge, but yeah.
Yeah. Then there's the compute pressure API, which can figure out how much strain your code is putting on the system and help you with like really intense benchmarking and performance monitoring and analysis. This is really going to be more useful for people doing heavy visualizations and games and that kind of thing. But the compute pressure API is something to keep your eye on if you are in that space. Then there's a new TC39 proposal that's gaining some momentum called deferred module evaluation. It's like lazy loading imports, await import, but it'll only import the code once you actually use the code. So if you import omit from Lodash or whatever lazily, if you never call the function, it doesn't get loaded. It only gets loaded once it's called. So there's obviously a bunch of footguns there, but it's a cool proposal nonetheless. The Node.js compatibility layer for Dino is now supported on Dino deploy. So if you deploy on their edge network, you now have Node.js compatibility with like a bunch of stars, like asterisks, just spitting out of that statement.
Like that, Wipeout show where you gotta get to that obstacle course and just I don't know, it banned.
Yeah.
And then Redwood.js, for those of you using Redwood.js, has decided that they are, to quote the author, all in on React server components. And they have a conference coming in September. Yeah.
I think one of the core contributors is also South African, if I'm not mistaken. I think he hangs out on ZATech as well.
I'm not actually involved in the project, but he's a co-founder.
Oh, he was.
If I remember right.
Yeah. Who is that?
I'm not sure. I stalked him.
Okay, you don't know either.
Sent him a message.
Okay, cool. Because I felt embarrassed that I didn't know. But yeah, I just want to quickly add to that. That's super interesting because if I remember, their whole approach was kind of like leaning into Jamstack very hard. So, okay.
While we're talking about server components and just talking about CSS, the not elephant in the room, the panda in the room.
I'm not gonna lie. When
to end racism.
When you said, oh, like for those of you like interested in CSS, I actually started typing Panda CSS in Google already to put the link in, and then you said, oh, the CSS server. So I actually preempted that one too early, but yeah, definitely worth chatting about. Then like also the kind of drama around React. I say drama in quotes because this internet drama.
Controversy, maybe.
Twitter exploded.
Yeah, but that's why I say in quotes, because I often find Twitter drama isn't like you don't really find those type of conversations happening in person when like in companies with like devs and stuff. That's like online drama is like, I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't have any relation to whether this is actually something that should cause an uproar or not. But yeah, so effectively web components, not web components. Oh, that's also some drama. But React server components, and like so my entry point into this, I don't know whether it started earlier or whether there are other like parallel things, but mine was effectively where the core maintainer of Redux expressed unhappiness about, he thinks server components are a mistake, and he also thinks they put a lot of complexity, they defer a lot of complexity to third-party library maintainers instead of solving that complexity internally. But yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack there. Let me just Redux.
So when you say the core maintainer, like that's Mark Erickson, the guy with the Simpsons.
Yes,
avatar.
Mark Erickson.
Okay.
You are right. Yes. He also has a blog, does he not?
Yeah, and he's got a couple of great talks on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Super fan of the guy. You mentioned web components, and that's just jogged my memory. Svelte 4.
Oh yeah, Svelte 4 is out.
Oh, that's true. And you know what? I actually did. I literally did a video on Svelte using. I didn't even know Svelte 4 was coming up. Literally for my students last week using the.
I saw it like
the
a month
Svelte
ago.
API.
I saw the roadmap for 1.0, and I'm
No,
not
nothing
sure.
like on the website of like, oh, this is coming up or whatever.
Yeah,
Usually
it was
there's
on
this
the
banner at the top. Yeah. Okay.
but
Svelte.
so Skulk, I mentioned this specifically. There are a bunch of changes, but one of the big changes is compatibility for web components.
Interesting. Because I know they moved away from it in version 3 because of a lot of things around, because they were one of the early ones that were kind of on the web components train. And I know it was a big deal because they moved away from it because web components couldn't do things like lazy valuation and so forth. Okay, cool. I'm keen to dive into that. I find web components extremely interesting. Okay, let me just see if I can find a link.
Drop it in the chat.
No. I just want to see if I can find a link to the React server components. Let me just search React server component drama. I should find something.
My Magen probably has a video where he rages about it.
Either that or Theo. I think Theo did a thing last night.
It's probably like a video of Theo raging about it, and then Primogen
No.
like raging about Theo's take. Like that's usually how it goes.
The opposite. I watched a little bit of it, and it was a reasonably measured. It wasn't a hot take at all.
Wow, that's a change, eh?
Yeah.
Theo doesn't even come up in my YouTube feed anymore.
Shame on you.
I miss that quiff of his. I don't miss his hot takes though.
Brilliant hairstyle. also a good engineer.
He's very hit or miss for me. But yeah.
I was going to say that there are more shades of gray to problems than he sometimes make it out to be. And then I realized that bringing up shades of gray is probably not the most appropriate phrasing for it.
Yeah, I think it's difficult as a content creator, like we're doing a podcast, right? But like actually having an income stream from content creation, you have to have a persona, and you have to deliver your message consistently in a style that your audience can consume. And I
fine, but
really respect him for his consistency and like the impact he's had on like as someone who does hiring, right? When I see bootcamp engineers or young devs coming in that have used, for example, the T3 stack, they're in a very different space today than they were 4 or 5 years ago, and that's directly the influence of him and people like the Primogen and Fireship and such.
At risk of rabbit holing here, I think because he has such an impact and he has such a big audience, I feel as though there's a little bit more responsibility on him to have measured takes than just hot takes.
But I just don't think we have the authority to have this discussion, really. Don't throw shade if you can't be a tree, right?
There you go. Also, I think we should talk about TypeScript using.
Yeah. So
Keyword?
TypeScript 5.1 and 5.2 are out.
Yeah.
5.1 was a largely uneventful release. Some cool things around inference for undefined and void types. Some quality of life improvements here and there. Some performance optimizations. Not like huge changes, but important changes. I mean, after the 5.0 release, they had to probably just take a little bit of a break as well, because that was a huge release. 5.2 introduces some new things, including the using keyword.
Interestingly enough, it's not on their blog, actually.
Yeah, 5.2 is still a roadmap stage.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
You can probably find it on GitHub as well.
Yeah, so if you
okay, so I'm just going to link
roadmap, you can find it.
I'm just going to link the Hacker News one for now. Ugh, okay.
Oh, the Matt Pocock article.
Oh no, the Hacker News one. Oh, is it? Oh, it is. Oh, it is. Okay. Yeah. And so also,
can I just say that, like, on that article at the top of the page, there's a little graphic for using that is like gold and shiny.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, that's high effort, man. That's that's like,
yeah, kudos for that.
You didn't have to do that, but you did, and then wrote a cool article as well. So
it's just
like, I know
extra.
I always gush over Mr. TypeScript Wizard, but that's high effort.
You came for the banner, you stayed for the content. So another thing as well that's I'm maybe keen to chat about, and maybe like we could end our summary here, is so 11t, which is kind of like static site generator, by Zach Leatherman, from what was it, like, sure, I can't remember the organization's name now, and like I'm gonna embarrass myself.
Netlify?
But
or
no, is he a Netlify? No. So 11t is funded.
Project.
Yes, but I do think some of that sponsorship has drained up a bit, purely just because of like tech recession, and so he's no longer working on it full time. He's back to working on it part time again, and so he kind of wrote something about that. But yeah, like, is there anything else that I missed?
Or we missed something.
Probably not.
That I can think of.
All right. So
we have 42 minutes left. I'm pretty sure there's more than 42 minutes of discussion here. So
yes. All right. So maybe let's do some key takeaways, and then afterwards we can maybe dive a bit deeper into one or two of these if there is time. Did any of you guys check the Stack Overflow developer survey?
I have not had the time for that one yet. That's usually a rather large investment.
Yeah, so
I saw Fireship's take on it.
Sure, that clickbait title. So for those of you that don't know, is like, I think it's something like PHP will make you poor or something like that.
Yeah, that's it.
But it, like, oh man, it's like, and this is also usually the thing I like that kind of rubs me a bit with his stuff. It's like his take is so good, but then he has such a clickbait title, and people in the comments are going to comment on it just reading the title without actually watching the video.
I think it was satirical. Like, that's the vibe that I got from it.
Yeah, but you only get that. You only get that after watching the video.
Okay, fair enough.
So,
so like,
to me,
yeah, if you've watched him a bunch, then it kind of makes sense. Like, his Java for Haters video is one of my favorite of all time, and like the whole thing is just a gag.
No, sure, but have you watched the React one? Like, literally, the comments is full of people using Vue saying they're so glad, like, this video made them so glad that they didn't decide on React. So I don't know. It's like, dude, like, the video is like a joke and it's satire.
YouTube comments are a war zone, man. Don't go there.
But so anyway,
welcome to the Drama podcast.
There we go. We're checking all the deep dives and replacing them with drama. So I think one thing that stood out to me in the survey is mostly everything lined up kind of how I was expecting.
Yo, look at that
JavaScript,
TypeScript growth.
yeah, like types like JavaScript still like king. TypeScript I actually thought would have grown more, but yeah, TypeScript just keeps on growing. It's definitely going to overtake JavaScript at some point. And I'm saying this as someone who hates TypeScript. I love static typing. I just think TypeScript's the worst way to do it, and I'll fight you with my physical fists on that thing. Yes.
If we team up, then we can take him.
I'm a pacifist, so I don't do I don't do blood sports. But I think the decision by Anders to do structural typing in the way that it's being done is one of the most productive decisions that the language has made.
No, agreed.
And I am significantly more productive in TypeScript than I am. I work with Clojure every day. I regularly play around with Elixir and Rust and those things. I am more productive in TypeScript.
Yeah, and then in terms of actual paying and so forth, it's all the kind of like edge languages that don't have big communities obviously pay the most.
I mean, Ruby was kind of surprising there.
So
I know Ruby generally pays well, but like
I think it's like a lot of like I think there aren't that many people learning Ruby nowadays anymore, and that's not a value judgment. It's just like
the
that's what I find.
Ends up totally skewed towards really senior.
So
devs.
there's a lot of legacy code that's Ruby and that needs to be maintained. We saw the same with Flash, and like I'm not making any comparisons about the future of Ruby, like by comparing it to Flash. But what I'm saying is, as the hiring pool gets smaller, obviously the jobs start paying more.
But also, it's skewed away from junior devs, which is
exactly because no one's going to be like, I'm going to go to a boot camp and learn
Rust.
Ruby.
I think it's above Rust, which is like that's a genuine surprise because Rust again has it is skewed towards senior devs.
Yeah.
Well, Rust is also something a lot of people want to do at the moment and are willing to work for peanuts just to have the opportunity to write Rust.
Exactly, that's true as well.
In a professional capacity.
So in terms of the big change here is I think MySQL used to be the most popular. Postgres seems to have overtaken it, which is good in my books. I very much prefer Postgres, even above like Mongo and so forth.
Scott, could you zoom in just a smidge?
Oh, that is a great. Okay. Yeah, React, like jQuery, like this is pretty much what I expected. So, like, if anything, yeah, meh. I guess that's my take on it. It's pretty much like
it's all the same.
It's like
same as last year.
Like I could have opened the 2022 one now, and I wouldn't have realized I opened the wrong one. So yeah, that's kind of it. Nothing big standing out. Let's chat about the WebSocket API. Is this it, or am I looking at the wrong thing?
I'm guessing their documentation is updated. In the chat, I have linked their Rust implementation of the library, which is called Fast WebSocket.
Let me have a quick look at that.
So that gives a little bit more details about the implementation.
So, in layman's terms, why is this important?
So the existing WebSocket API was unstable. It was like published as stable, but it had drop packets. It wasn't particularly quick. One thing that's great about Dino is they always follow the web APIs. So on server-side Dino, you can throw an alert, which is fascinating. You can like pretty much any web API you can use, which is it's really interesting in the grand scheme, like the overall approach. But essentially, Dino is written in Rust foundationally, and it uses V8. This is a Rust implementation of WebSockets, which is probably extremely robust. and is really, really quick. It's almost as fast as micro WebSockets, which I'm a massive fan of. And this is probably something that we can be really confident in. And from my perspective, the one thing that was preventing me from really reaching, or there were two key things preventing me from reaching for Dino in South Africa. The one is not having a local deploy region, and the other was the WebSocket implementation. Like if I'm dropping messages, it's not something that I really trust. Like we always need safeguard around it because no one's connection is perfect. But having something that I don't trust is not something that I want to work with. And this in my books is a pretty massive step for Dino. Like they're doing a lot of stuff, and the NPM compatibility is really cool. But there are some, like for most of our bread and butter work, if you're talking like CRUD APIs and maybe some WebSockets and stuff like that, you can spin something up really quickly that's really light and deploy to 42 or 45 regions in like the 10 seconds that it takes. So I'm very excited about this. I think this is a great change.
Mike,
okay, awesome.
Can I quote you on our hiring page? Having
What
someone
part?
I don't trust is not somebody I don't want to work with.
Feel free.
Yeah. So by definition,
I wouldn't take my word as
you
gospel
trust,
anyway, man.
I think you can just paraphrase that as I trust everyone at Operativa, Mike, 2023.
In 20, like right now. I'll try and keep it that way as long as I can.
So okay, cool. Yeah, because I do remember like me chatting to you because in my head you are kind of my Dino and Bun guy. I have guys like Justin's kind of my TypeScript guy, Xandor's kind of my functional programming guy, you're kind of my Dino and Bun guy. And I know like at some point you told me like you're not keen on the current WebSocket implementation, and so I obviously took that to heart. So I'm glad to now hear that it's actually much better now.
I'm looking for an excuse to use it in production.
All right. State of CSS. So it's still just taking in, currently open. It's not, the results aren't published, right?
No, yeah, it's they're taking, like you can complete it now. I think you're missing another bullet point there called, like, we can title it fun. It's always a good time.
Let's tag it as fun. There you go.
Yay.
This one's for fun. Like CSS Fun 2023. That wasn't a combination I was like expecting this year. But have any of you guys filled it in? Have you filled it in, Mike?
Yeah. I did it the morning it came out, man. I love these things.
Is it? Any interesting questions? I know that whenever I do these, it's like it asks about like some like API, some native API or something, and that would be the first time I'm actually even learning about it.
That is pretty much it. Like,
any
that's why I go through it. Is like, like interesting, yes. Practical,
yeah.
Maybe. Probably the stuff that was new to me, or not new to me, but the stuff that I didn't know or hadn't worked with before is all the color space things. I'm not sure if they have much value, just because it's, like the subset of users that applies to is really small.
I guess like I would say it's more applicable to like design systems and stuff. Where you want like some type of modular like color scheme. So instead of having like,
but even then, that is icing on the cake.
Yeah, but sure, but like it's not a non-zero like usage thing.
For sure.
It's definitely something where I've had to pull in JavaScript before.
Oh wow!
And also like things when you're doing like, remember when you're doing like hover effects and stuff, especially if it's like an image and so forth. There's a lot of like, or gradients and stuff. There's a lot of like interplays where it's useful to be able to say, for example, like lighten this by X amount, darken this by X amount.
When I talk about color spaces, I'm not talking about that. Hey.
Oh, I thought you were talking about because there's all these new kind of function like expressions. Oh, you're talking about something else. Sorry.
Yeah, so actual like color spaces. I can't think of a different way to describe them, but like
Oh, you mean like screen, like yeah. I get
Adobe
like
RGB or S3
gamuts.
or
Gamuts
P3.
is what they're
Yes,
called.
yes.
Yes. Oh
There,
yeah.
wide gamut
No.
colors.
Oh yeah. That was
Another one
my
that
same.
was
That was
pretty
my
cool.
same
If you
take
go
as
to
well. I was also
the layout tab, there's one thing that I've been excited about. I think it was announced like in December though, so it's been a while.
subgrids. I saw on here. Subgrids is a big one.
The small, large, and dynamic viewport units, like that one is
Okay.
something that I've wanted for a while, or it's been a thorn in my side in the past.
Yeah, this
So-
is what people are raving about this. Like this thing where you can do the greater than and less than. I don't know, Mike. It kind of feels to me like this is just going to make media queries even more of a mess. But anyway, that's just me.
So-
I do kind of
Sorry, the thing that I was
first.
talking about was
Yeah.
the LVH and
Yeah. No, 100%. This one up here. No, but I
so
just saw
a quick
this one.
summary for people that might not know is on mobile we have the URL bar that appears and disappears. These essentially allow us to target specifically the height with the URL bar and without the URL bar, which is
And
like
the
from
little
my perspective
thingy at
something
the bottom.
that bites you in places
Yeah.
when you're trying to do responsive stuff on mobile.
Hide your floating action button like perfectly.
The amount of navs that I've seen disappear under that thing.
Yeah. Like I've literally debugged an issue yesterday where it kind of the notch on the iPhone just messed everything up because hey, hear this, when you do 100 VH, it actually like treats it as if the notch is not there. But if you do 100% height, it does it without the notch. So fun times with Safari and Apple. Yeah, and then the person is like, no, but I'm not using Safari, I'm using Chrome. And I'm okay, let's not even go there. It is actually for Safari for the code, but
yeah, let's not go to that rabbit hole. Because we're gonna
okay, cool. Yeah. So we can come back to this. Okay, so there's a lot of lots of new super exciting stuff. I'd really like, so I think 2 years ago or so forth, Justin and I had a live Q&A with Miriam Suzanne, and like she already spoke a lot about a lot of these things. So she's kind of behind SAS and also part of the CSS working group. And like, there's a lot of exciting stuff still coming up. Like, and CSS is moving very much into the realm where you're going to be doing a lot more like function type things, where you pass a value to a keyword and so forth.
So native CSS nesting, that's the other exciting thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a never nester, so me, I come from the BEM school of thought. So to me, nesting is specificity is a bad thing. But yeah, regular expressions.
Yeah, just open. People can just go to the page and see. It's just better.
Yeah, because I know for a very long time, you would get this kind of like weird site that looked like it came out of the year 2000 or something. Or
Rubular, it was either Rubular, Regexer, or Regex 101. Those are the three big ones.
Or the W3 schools on. So
it was Regexer.
This one. No, but these are kind of tools for testing. But for learning,
we gotta go to the Dino one. That looks amazing.
This one.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, the world's most tyrannosaurical regex tutorial. Yeah.
I love that. That is so cool.
I know. So this is the one that people would often like. So you have all of these, but they're mostly tools. But in terms of an actual article explaining how regex works, don't miss the regex style guide and the best regex trick ever! 3 exclamation marks. There you go. Wow! Look at this. Yeah, this is like PHP like no man, but those site kind of frameworks. There's all
it makes me think of GeoCities, man.
Yeah,
Joomla.
Yeah, Joomla. Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm thinking more in terms of like, what was it like? PHP nuke and those things. Like that's super old school. They would look like that. Okay, cool. So it's good, I assume.
We can tag this with
And
nice.
also, is there anything specific about it that's worth pointing out?
I haven't looked at it,
Okay.
Ben. Are you still here, man?
I got a little bit distracted. Someone's getting hacked.
Focus,
Literally.
You gotta run.
Yeah. No. It's sorted. We've locked them out. Okay.
We could have done a play-by-play as it's happening. As you're tuning in right
luckily,
now.
Luckily, we have buttons for lock user, so that's
there you go.
That's
Get out of here.
I'm just saying, Xandor isn't here, so just gonna.
Xandor's fine. Xandor's fine.
He's got an alibi.
Yeah, it's just better documentation, and we can always celebrate better documentation.
Yeah.
And I think regex was
hard. Let's also not fail to mention
there were some anti-patterns in JS regex. Like I've used some ESLint rules to prevent funnies.
Also, Safari finally fixed regex, so that was maybe
was that the look
3-4
back thing?
months ago? The backwards
was that the look
negative? I think it's the negative look behind, or it didn't support any look behind, so it wasn't up to specification for 4 or 5 years, and they finally fixed it. But yeah.
Oh, that's rad. That's a
really
well,
feature. I guess, but I think also my initial discussion on this was that I don't know, it maybe tells you something about Safari where you're celebrating them actually finally adhering to the specification for regex. But we'll take what we can get. All right. Compute pressure. So this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is still level 1. So this is very, very far out.
Yeah, so that's not a TC39 thing. It's just it's more at the engine level, so at the V8 and Spider Monkey and that level.
Oh, so you're not talking about the API, you're talking about the thing itself.
Yeah. This is very comp-sci and high level, but some people might want to know about it, especially people working in rendering and gaming and maybe the ML space. Yeah, so it's just
on
worth
that note,
knowing about.
I think someone that worked on the V8 engine posted a video in the last week or two about the garbage collector in JavaScript. Really interesting watch. Super smart stuff. But essentially he dove into essentially small and large garbage collections and how to optimize for that. Obviously these are extremely micro optimizations and they're not really applicable, but it's still super fascinating to see someone who literally had a direct impact on the stuff, explaining his approach to these micro optimizations. Again, only applicable for, I don't know, people smarter than me, so you guys. But a 1% of users will ever actually.
That is how I know that you're dumb, Mike. Is because you think I'm smart. That is something
the paradox right here.
A dumb person would think that I'm smart. There you go.
Don't throw shade if you can't be a tree, right? So.
but so my guess is there's probably going to be a lot of benefits downstream to this. That is, even if you don't even know this is a thing, you're probably going to be experiencing some downstream benefits in terms of libraries being able to optimize better and so forth.
Yeah, so I mean, it's existing stuff. I think he wrote this.
No, I'm specifically speaking about the compute pressure.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, but that's also fascinating. I've definitely gone on a rabbit hole exercise of garbage collection, and it's super interesting. But it's interesting in the way that some random historical piece of information or some trivia or something. Like it's not going to make you a better JavaScript developer, but man, like it's interesting. And I think you also get an appreciation for like how much thought have gone into some of these things. Yeah,
for sure. Like I relish any opportunity to learn more about the V8 optimizations, just because they're so smart, and like we're using it every day, and like it's nice to kind of have a better understanding of what we're using under the hood, and kind of have some appreciation for how far it's come. Like so many people criticize JavaScript, but like I think it's genuinely incredible, considering like how like it punches way above its weight for what it is. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and my general thing is as well, or that I always say is one big reasons why JavaScript sucks so much is because of the DOM. It's because it needs to deal with the DOM. I'm pretty sure if Python had to deal with the DOM, it would really drag Python down like any other language. Like the DOM really drags JavaScript, the language, down. Just the DOM interface.
And the DOM and dates.
Well, we have temporal.
We've got temporal coming. So
yes.
Yeah, super excited for that.
I'm trigger a JavaScript developer. Mention dates.
Make Moment.js. There you go.
Okay. No Moment.js. It's 2023. Day.js or date function, please.
Hey, you saw jQuery as the third most popular library. jQuery is more popular than Angular and Vue. In state
together.
It's more popular than Next.js. jQuery is more popular than Next.js. There you go.
The real question is it more loved? You missed that graph.
It's loved, but for the wrong reasons. It's not real love. You think it's love, but it's codependency. So I just
very unhealthy.
Yeah, it's an unhealthy type of love. So I assume with the compute pressure, there's going to be like a lot of downstream benefits. Even if you don't even know about this, you're probably going to get some benefits through proxy of libraries and stuff. Proposal defer import eval. Okay, so it sounds like on surface level, lazy loads. Is it the actual ES modules import like functionality, like syntax?
Yeah. So it'll affect how you import. You can specify that things only get imported once they get called at runtime.
And would this apply to CommonJS and ES modules, or like does it not care? Is that down to how we build?
You have to be ES modules.
Okay,
you have to be ES modules.
Yeah. So Guy Bedford, he was behind System.js way back. Also, he was kind of very much in the world of trying to reconcile Node and like the CommonJS Node problem and the new ES modules. I think he's South African as well, if I'm not mistaken. He did a talk. He did a talk once that I actually attended in what was a Greenpoint co-working space or something. Yeah, very
That's a really
strange.
Impressive guy.
Yeah, 100%. Cool. So the key here is, okay, so it's still stage 1, so it's still very far out, but it's just interesting to know that something like this is coming up. And as you mentioned, Ben, there is probably a ton of foot guns here. And it's interesting, I would have assumed you would declare it on the script tag itself, in the same way you do type modules or whatever. How would you actually...
It would be on the imports. It's on the import. So if you do import.load, scroll down.
Yeah.
Scroll down. Scroll up.
I see. You can do with lazy init true.
Yeah, that's one.
That was the initial version. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay.
And then there's import.load, just a little bit higher, I think. Somewhere here, there's an import.load statement. There we go. Up. At the top of this block. There. Down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Load is async that bit. So you can do that kind of thing.
Interesting. Okay, cool. but yeah, this is still very far out. But it's good to know about it. Dino, let's talk about node compatibility. It made a lot of people angry as well, but like now it's actually finally now.
Well,
I think it was
it's on
yeah.
Dino deploy, right? So the fight's over. It's
Yeah.
gonna be there.
But I mean, now it's real. Like it's there now.
I think
So
it's a
just
practical decision.
to clarify
agree.
here, previously we could use NPM modules in Dino locally or within a container or however we're using it. Now in Dino deploy, their hosting service or serverless hosting service, we can now use NPM packages from there. Previously, we couldn't do it because they had some super smart caching layer for their Dino land modules, right? I think that was the reason why. And now they essentially have opened up the playground to new modules.
They're moving quite fast though.
It's so
like
exciting.
isn't the KV thing also like Dino?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
super curious about that. I played with it a little bit, but yeah, I like what's interesting is Next came or Vercel came out with their KV store shortly afterwards. And it seems to be one of these kind of like converging evolution things where a lot of places are aiming towards that.
Yeah, we saw the same with edge functions as well. It's like almost just I woke up one morning and like everyone had edge functions. Yeah. Okay. How I for a complete noob, how would you actually use node modules in Dino? Because with Dino you pull things in from like a URL.
So it's
would you
actually
need
super
to
convenient. So if we're importing Express, we could say import Express from colon or npm colon Express, and then it goes onto npm, it finds Express, and it grabs it for you.
Interesting. So you would just go like what npm /
npm colon. So if you want to bring in Zod, npm colon Zod, but Zod also exists in Dino, so you don't even need to do that.
Okay, interesting.
But yeah, you just use that. You prepend your package with npm.
And is this
types become a little bit fiddly.
Is it for just a select couple of things, or is it for everything?
It's for everything, but like there are caveats. It's that Takeshi's Castle thing again, where you think everything's good until it's not. So, for example, if you're trying to use Fastify, it won't work.
Okay.
There are things that JavaScript has that Dino doesn't have, and there are some like compiled things that work in JavaScript and don't work in Dino. So, I'm sorry, I've entirely lost my train of thought. But like I mentioned, Fastify, that's a crazy one for me to not work, but it's not Dino compatible. So you can import it, but it's just going to throw errors whenever you try to run it, or at least when I last did it. This is probably like 3 months ago.
Because I know
they have improved compatibility, but
because I know at some point like is this directly pulling from npm, or because I know at some point they were kind of almost manually migrating things to the actual Dino team, but like this sounds like they're just opening the gates and now you can pull anything. If I push something to npm right now, I can pull it into Dino, correct?
Yeah, so it's a compatibility layer. The actual implementation of how they're getting the data across, I don't know. But essentially they have it's a compatibility layer that allows you to bring in a lot of npm packages. It's been around for a while, and they've done a lot of work to improve the compatibility and allow you to use a lot more npm packages. But it is worth being cognizant that it's mostly applicable to things that are mostly written in JavaScript and TypeScript. As soon as you start having compiled things, so like for example, there's I think there's a gRPC library for JavaScript that relies on like compiled stuff, and you you have to have the right runtime for the environment that you're running it in, and things like that generally pose big issues trying to run in Dino, from what I've seen.
And obviously, by definition, also things that are meant for client side as well, I assume.
I mean, Dino is kind of this weird both server and client side.
Yeah.
So a lot of libraries that are written.
Yeah, but I think what I'm saying is effectively that something that wouldn't work in Node wouldn't, I assume, work in Dino either. So you wouldn't be able to pull in like Bootstrap and run it on Dino.
You probably would, because one of Dino's key objectives is to have browser native APIs.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So,
but that is true. But I guess like, what would you do with that?
I mean, you
like
you
run
could
it
build
in an
an MVC
emulated
app.
environment. Yeah, there you go.
I've generated PDFs like that.
Oh, that's
So,
true as
like,
well. Yeah.
There is a use case. I'm not saying it's very big, but like, it's a nice to have. I don't know. I'm curious to see where it goes. Like, it's cool because you can build a library to work both on the server and the client, which is at least interesting.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. All right. Redwood.
I don't think we really have to wax lyrical about this one. It's we're gonna maybe. I don't think we really have enough time to get into the whole server components thing anyway. But like, it's showing that more than just Next.js is committing to server components, and that's a good thing.
I think also, what is the other one? I think it's like Blaze or something. I can't remember now, but they also said like, they're in. So yeah, I think very much similar to the Dino thing. Like, this is the reality now. Whether you think it's a good idea or a bad idea, like, this seems like this has momentum now, and we are heading to a world of server components. Yeah. And I think it's also very interesting with them is because, like, I think generally the whole approach was about actually like being like Jamstack. So in other words, Java, well, it's technically not the acronym anymore, but thinking less and less about the server, actually completely decoupling things. So that's interesting. Panda, why is Panda great? Who's the biggest fanboy between the two of you?
Just variants.
Okay.
Like,
so
the way they handle variants.
You mean like
Mike? You're much more authoritative about this than I am, so you take it.
I'm totally undecided who should chat about it, but I'm extremely excited about this. So like, I'd be happy to chat about it. There was a really popular library by a team called Modules with a Z, called Stitches, and they wrote a essentially CSS and JS API that is incredibly ergonomic. It's pretty similar to Class Variance Authority, but it allows you to write either CSS, I think, modules, or using Tailwind, with a really cool API that solves a lot of the problems around like Tailwind class hull, for example, and allows you a beautiful API to write like components with variants. So like, say now you want to have a button as an outline, a fold, and you want to handle your disabled state, your error state, all these things at once. It kind of allows a great API to write that really easily. And in tandem with that, with React Server components coming out, we run into an issue with some CSS and JS stuff with hydration. And there's also been one of the core maintainers for CSS and JS has spoken out about how there's a big cost to CSS and JS. I'll see if I can try to find the article. I read it, I think, last year. But there's argument that it may not be the right solution. I don't think it's worth diving into the details here, but like, I'm on board with CSS and JS actually not being a great solution. Plain old CSS ends up better, but plain old CSS isn't the most ergonomic thing. It's really nice to have some JavaScript tooling to allow for easier CSS writing, and even more than that, some TypeScript tooling to write CSS. So what Panda CSS allows us is it kind of brings this cool ergonomic API that allows us to author components that are different variants that can come in as props really, really easily, and it compiles down to static CSS. So you get all the performance improvements of maintaining your CSS cache and not having to rebuild your CSS object model, and defer or like pre-compiling your CSS so it's not on the main thread and being compiled through JavaScript or being attached to the head. And then like another one of the concerns is as you add and remove components, you have to rebuild that CSS object model. So plain old CSS is definitely the kind of optimal solution. The negative that you're paying for is your bundle size might be a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Super exciting. Built by the Chakra team. They recognize.
We're losing Mike, I think.
Yeah, we're losing. Either fix your connection or your voice.
Load shedding.
Hey guys,
his voice is fine. I think he's got a good voice.
That's how he actually sounds in real life.
Thanks so much.
He's just filtering his voice.
I'm back. Where did I disappear?
You disappeared at the point
somewhere between CSS and better.
So you were speaking about, you mentioned Chakra.
Is your internet also acting up?
But yours is.
My ISP hates me, guys.
I think Chris's internet is fine.
Sorry about
Tell
that.
Chris to switch over torrents.
Well, I think, and on that bombshell, we can probably start closing off, unless you want to make use of the remaining 4 minutes.
Yeah.
I want to mention one thing.
About
Panda. It's built by the Chakra team, and I quite like that. They're based in Africa. They're based in Nigeria. I think that's super cool. And they're doing something that is like properly groundbreaking. So big kudos to them. Super exciting. Chakra UI.
I think I spelled Chakra wrong as well. But yeah, okay, cool. Chakra that's Microsoft, is it not?
No, it's the
Chakra used to be, wasn't that like Edge's rendering engine or something? Sorry, I'm mixing up my chakras now, my different chakras, as one tends to do.
You got to keep them aligned, man. No mixing up.
Yeah, you have to keep all your chakras, but they're too aligned. That's the problem. So in closing, I think Stack Overflow, more of the same. Dino, better WebSocket support now. State of CSS currently open. Regular expression documentation on NDN, really good. Node and React, super old, and some W3C stuff. Some Dino deploy now supporting node modules, and then a quick mention of React server components, but I guess that's going to come up a ton in the next couple of months. And then Panda CSS, check it out. Svelte 4, I haven't looked at it at all. Maybe just anyone looked at it? Any quick big changes?
Not to sound harsh or dismissive, but under the hood changes, no DX changes really, and cool, like a little bit easier web component authoring.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we're probably not going to go into using, but like this is still being worked on, so we're probably going to touch on that again. And yeah, 11T, effectively, this is just another casualty of there now being less money in the world of tech.
Less money.
Yes. Okay. All right. Okay, guys, this was great. Ben, I hope you weren't hacked. If you follow
it wasn't
up
me.
now.
It wasn't me. It was a relative.
Okay. I hope your relative wasn't hacked.
They definitely were.
You said it so nonchalantly, man.
Yeah. They knew what they were signing up for. Okay. Awesome. All right, guys, this was great. Lots of great stuff here. I will share a link to this document. I'll just organize the blocks and things a bit nicer, and then I will check you guys next month again.
Okay.
All right. Let's maybe close out by who is Operativa.
Operativa.
Yeah.
Operativa is a team building next generation TypeScript tooling. We recently made a big hire by the name of Andrew Peters, who is our head of developer experience. Andrew is going to be focusing on the ORM space in TypeScript, and we might see some very cool things coming out of that in the near future, as well as some libraries around ergonomics of using HTTP APIs and client applications and services. That's Operativa. We are always hiring. If you are passionate about TypeScript and want to make great developer experiences, drop us a line at talent@operativa.dev or just ben@operativa.dev if you want to message me directly. Yeah, we're excited to bring some cool things to the community.
Yeah, I see on the
Ben is
website.
engaged, so
well done.
please don't
Ben.
solicit him.
Like you were the only one. You were the only one who wasn't who's not married between us. Correct? Yeah. All
Not
right.
for long.
Then we need to get some fresh blood. We need to get some fresh blood in here, like to come shake up all these old men, these middle-aged men. All right, yeah. Okay, let's end it there before I insult Ben even further. Cool guys, that was great.
Okay.
We'll chat again next month.
See you next month. Cheers, everyone.
Peeps.
Bye bye.